Hey everyone and welcome to another video, and today we're doing another pro player insight, and I have not done one of these in quite a long time, but I wanted to bring it back with Ucal because in my latest video, my Sylas guide, towards the end of the Sylas guide, I highlight the Sylas players to watch. And Ucal, I believe, is one of the best Sylases in the entire world, and if we take a look at his OPG on the left hand side here, we have Sylas being his most played, 269 Sylas games played with a 62% win rate, with an average of 7.6 CS per minute. Unbelievable. An incredibly good Sylas player. So today I actually wanted to take a look at two differing Sylas games, go quite in depth. And the reason I chose these two is because they kind of differ in the way he navigated the laning phase. The first one is actually going to be versus Ryze, a very average game with a lot of, awkward ultimates. He has the Trundle ultimate, Ryze ultimate, Karma, Senna, not many amazing ultimates. The only good one I would say, reliably decent one I would say, is Nocturne. And he actually ends up opting in for the Q-Max. So a very interesting game to watch. And then I want to kind of juxtapose that with the second VOD, which is actually the Akali matchup, a very chaotic one where he plays a lot more aggressively from level 1, W-Max. And I feel like we get to see both styles of the way he plays these lanes. Now today, these are the areas that I actually want to look for. How he plays the different styles of lane pace. When he plays Q-Max versus this Ryze, he doesn't really have much of a choice. He has to play very slow, give. CS under tower. When he versus Akali, he plays a little bit faster, tries to contest the level 2, is pushing a lot more in the lane, etc. So I kind of wanted to really highlight the different ways to play out the matchups. I wanted to talk about how he gets such high CS scores. So this is something that is very strange for Sylas players. And even in my guide, I spoke about how Sylas players shouldn't really be getting that much CS. So I wanted to see where I went wrong, where I'm going wrong, and maybe what the trade-offs were for him having such a large CS score. Okay, so let's get into that. I wanted to take a look at his skirmishing assessment and win condition assessment. I think this is one of the areas that makes Ucal so special. He just knows exactly what a one fight looks like and what a poor fight looks like. And he's incredibly patient with his E, his ultimate usage. I really want to go in depth in this area. And I feel like skirmishing is the area that really differentiates between the amazing Sylas players and the really average or mediocre Sylas players. The next one here, this is probably the biggest point of the entire video. And one of the things I really wanted to get across within my guide, and I don't really think I did a great job of this, is how good he is at accepting losses. Now, one of the concepts I spoke about in my Sylas guide was the importance of getting XP, even at the sacrifice of gold, right? So you just want to stay healthy to make sure you get as much XP as possible, because levels is what is important with Sylas. And I feel like Ucal does a beautiful job of this, especially within the Ryze game. And I really want to highlight this. And I think this is one of Ucal's biggest strengths as a player. And we got to remember, not everything he does is correct, right? He's not a robot. We're not going to be like, yes, all hail Ucal Sylas, you're the best in the world, therefore everything you do is correct. Yes, the large majority of it is definitely going to be correct, but I really want to come in with an open mind, and maybe we can interpret the identity of the champion a little bit different, and so we can cater it to our own games, our own server, our own rank. And at the end of this video, we're going to come back and we're going to really break down what the key mistakes were and what the main learnings are, so that we can really take away some key points for our own Sylas games. So let's dive straight into the VODs. So with this first VOD, we're going to take a look at the Sylas v Ryze game. Now, he's actually opted in for TP, which makes a lot of sense given it's not a melee matchup and it's going to be really difficult to use it. But he's actually opted in for Doran's Ring and 2 pots. Now, Doran's Ring is good for longer extended laning phases where you're taking a little bit slower. And it's also good if you're going to be taking a lot of damage in the early game, because it gives you a bunch of sustain. Now, I'm personally not a fan, because I feel as though it's much better just to tempo reset with a Dark Seal and just come back on the map. Now, he goes for something a little different. So what we'll do, we'll keep an open mind and we'll kind of play this VOD out, and we'll see how the itemization plays towards the way he navigates this lane phase. So keep in mind, this is actually the game where he goes Q-Max as well. So he's versing a Trundle. I would say it's not the most amount of threat, but combined with Ryze is a little bit problematic. He does have a Xin Zhao, which makes a lot of sense. Now he's just allowing himself to get shoved in here by the Ryze. He actually starts with E, level 1. Gets poked a little bit. Looks like Trundle started bot side. Xin Zhao doing a top to bot clear here. Be interested to see if he goes for a level 2 trade. Okay, so he notices Ryze step outside the wave, and he's confident in his ability to punish with an E into an E2. Not sure if this trade is actually going to favor him. Usually you do kind of want to trade level 1 so you can get value, max value from your W at level 2. Don't know how this is going to serve him though, because Ryze can quite easily peel back into his minion wave here. So he gets shoved in. Looks like Ryze got a ward out onto top side to allow him to harass under tower. And now he actually goes for Q. Level 2 here to help him thin the wave and CS a little bit as well, which makes sense. To be honest, I feel like Ucal probably should have actually just started Q. If he's going to play like this, you might as well just start Q. Now, as you can see already, 17 CS to 4. Let's see how many he's actually able to pick up under the tower here. Not looking too hot. Finally gets his level 3. We'll see if he looks for a trade. Notice how little damage he is taking comparatively to a lot of other Sylas players. So if we were to go back here, put yourself in Ucal's shoes here. You've got this huge wave coming under your tower. You've already missed a bunch. You're feeling the pressure. You're feeling the heat. You're like, well, I want to get in there, get my level 3. He gets the cannon. CS's that one. Not too bad. Not too bad. Avoids the Q damage. Now we're sitting at 9 CS to 19. He's been okay to sacrifice it. But because he stayed healthy enough, right? He sacrificed that HP. He sacrificed that XP or the gold, in the early game, the early lane. He said, okay, you can have that. He stayed healthy enough in order to take an aggressive level 3 trade. And he hasn't really missed any XP, so it's completely fine. So he goes for a very spicy level 3 trade. Gets poked on the back end. Ryze does a really good job of trading back, and they blow flash for flash. And that, to be honest, that actually benefits Sylas a lot more than it benefits Ryze. So we'll see what he does here. Cleans it up. Go through both of his pots. Now, you've got to keep in mind, 2 pots give a lot more healing than a refillable, so maybe that ties into his calculation to go Thorns. Now, the enemy jungle gets a triple kill, which is not optimal. Xin Zhao dies in the early game, which is definitely not a good sign. He TP's back and then match TP. Brilliant. Now, at this point, he has 2 points Q. So, as you can see, this is not the most amazing game, is it? You're looking at your top. He's losing pressure. Trundle's got an early triple kill. Trundle's actually looking for a double scuttle. Your bot lane has died. It's really not looking too hot. And you're countered here. And Xin Zhao's not really exerting any pressure onto this flashless Ryze. Alright, so they look for a 2v2 here. Alright, nice. So Ucal looked for a 2v2. Xin Zhao. Oh shit, what the hell is Senna doing here? Really, really good roam from the Senna. So Senna comes, cleans up, and Ryze is able to clean up Sylas. Let's take a look at this again one more time. So I like this. I think this makes a lot of sense. It's coherent with Xin Zhao's identity to go for early skirmishes and Sylas as well. Even though Sylas' skirmishing isn't that strong at this point because he only has 1 point in his W and he doesn't have flash. But they end up both targeting the Trundle and getting the one shot. Xin Zhao gets the shutdown. But top didn't have Prio, so Xin Zhao gets collapsed on, and then Ryze is able to clean up Sylas on the back end. So, look, a terrible start from a Sylas perspective. Didn't even get the kill. Now he's down a considerable amount of CS. Doesn't even have TP to TP fix this wave. Xin Zhao's 1 and 2. The only saving grace is that Xin Zhao was able to get a shutdown. So this is why I love this VOD. Because if I'm putting myself in Ucal's shoes right now, I'm feeling the heat. I'm definitely feeling the heat right now. So fast forwarding a little bit, he comes back, tries to CS as best as he can under tower, does so pretty successfully, utilizes his passive quite nice. So look, he's not that far behind in XP, believe it or not, because Sylas, by the time Sylas got the wave out, he was already back in lane. So yes, he's down a little bit of gold. Well, effective gold, because Ryze has been able to spend the gold, whereas Sylas is actually sitting on most of his gold now. So Sylas is actually sitting on another 300 here. It's not terrible. So he comes back. Now he's got 3 points in Q. Is able to... And remember, Q is much better for wave clear as well. It does open up your ability to tempo reset. So he gets the wave out. Sees Trundle topside. Ends up looking towards bot here. Because he has a little bit of tempo over this Ryze. Ends up hovering bot. Is that on a cannon? Yeah, it's on a cannon wave. So he knows it's a cannon wave. He's got plenty of time. And he knows that there's nothing else for him to do because he can't really poke under tower anyway. So it goes for a really nice roam. Now, this is super interesting. This is what I would call like in my mid-lane academy, I call it like an opportunistic roam. So, he shoves the wave out. I mean, alternatively, he probably could have gone for another tempo reset, given that it was a cannon wave, and he probably could have gone back for a Sapphire Crystal. But because he sees the Trundle topside, he knows that, well, look, I'm going to go fishing bot. You know, I've got a Rakan that can follow up and maybe even set up a little bit of CC. He probably hovers his camera bot, sees that the wave's in a bit of an awkward situation. So, I mean, why not? They're probably going to look to posture aggressively to prevent them from crashing. Probably feels as though Sapphire Crystal isn't an overly impactful reset. Might as well fish for something given the desperate game state. Knowing that Trundle's not here. Fishes out of vision. And goes for a nice opportunistic roam. I like it. He doesn't really lose much. So by the time he comes back mid, I'm assuming he's only going to lose, let's see here. He's going to lose 1, 2 creeps. I think he's even going to get back for the XP on this cannon. Alright, so Ryze has no flash. No, he actually misses the cannon here. So Ryze has no flash. Beautiful little collapse here. Excellent. So he still has no kills. Xin Zhao's been getting all the kills. Dirty little jungler taking all the kills. But that's okay. So he's done a really good job of bringing this back. Beautiful. Shoves it out. What does he do here? Clears a ward. Goes for a little bit of a reset again. It ends up rushing Lucidity Boots, which is interesting. I'm personally not a big fan of that because I like the raw AP, because more AP on Sylas means more damage and more healing. But obviously he's valuing that mobility and ability and the ability haste. Okay. They went a nice 2v top. So as you can see, he's playing, when he's in this isolated 1v1, he's playing relatively conservatively. It'll be interesting to see when he switches gears. What level is he going to switch gears and look to trade aggressively onto this Ryze? Or maybe he's just simply playing for 2v2s and waiting for Xin Zhao. So Ryze has gotten 2 plates here, which is a little bit average. He's staying healthy here, which is good. Doing a really good job of avoiding those Qs from Ryze. 46 CS by 7 minutes 30. Not amazing. Okay, so Trundle invading topside. Not really compensating. Trying to bait in the Ryze, it looks like. Oh, he's actually swapped to Sweeper. Fascinating. Maybe he feels as though he's not really under any threat from a Trundle anyway, because he can just E away, and he's not really going to E in forwards unless he knows where Trundle is anyway. And maybe he just wants to sweep for the Xin Zhao and play for 2v2s. Interesting. Interesting choice from Ucal. Puts his pink on bot side as well. Here we go. Ryze still doesn't have flash. Xin Zhao pinged the Ryze flash. Excellent. Okay. Well, serves you right for playing an immobile mage in this meta, sir. Nah, to be honest, they're actually coming back. Champions like Ryze and Orianna and things are actually coming back into the meta, but it does feel quite bad to play an immobile mage and just something like a Sylas and Xin Zhao. So, as we can see, he's got 4 points in Q, now decides to put the remainder of his points into W. It seems as though his secondary win condition is likely going to be this bot side of the map. He ends up shoving the next one in, even though it was a cannon. Bot seems to be quite overextended. He ends up walking bot side here. No way this is going to work. Okay. So he's able to get a nice little collapse onto bot side here. Holds the E. Beautiful. Great stuff. I love the hold of the E there. Excellent. So, he's got a pretty clear win condition through this bot side. And because the enemy team comp seems relatively low damage, I think he's going to be okay. But he does lose mid tower for that roam. Very, very interesting. So you can see that he is actively playing around his Xin Zhao's location quite well. Like, he's actively set up ganks. He's placed pinks for his jungler. And he is complementing his jungler's decision making. Goes for a little bit of a TP play topside here. Bit of a rough one. I guess he... I mean, look. The play's over, in my opinion. Let's take a look at this, if this is good or just a mistake. At the end of the day, the play's done. They already know Trundle's somewhere around that area on top side because they're not contesting the dragon, and I'm pretty sure he showed on a ward, so... He assumed that Riven would last longer than he did, but... I don't know, in my opinion, I think it's better to just trade. Nocturne can get plates topside, you just get plates mid. Like, I try to avoid those sorts of plays, especially on the weak side of the map when Riven's not your win con anyway. If you keep the Riven alive, who cares? Alright, so look, he's rock and rolling now. He's got a Lost Chapter, he's got his tier 2 boots, he's got 6 stacks on his Dark Seal, 78 CS. In terms of gold, what, he's 800 gold behind the Ryze. Ryze has Flash now and Everfrost, so things might switch up a little bit here. So it'll be interesting to see how he navigates the game from this point onwards. One thing as well with Qmax is that, or at least putting multiple points in Q, is that your CSing under tower is a lot more effective. And a lot more mana efficient. So he sweeps. I love this, by the way. This is beautiful. Again, similar to what I said before about an opportunistic roam, one of the things I teach in the Midland Academy is exactly this. When there's nothing to do, just walk down, pan your camera, assess the situation, you get halfway, and you're like, if there's not a play, there's no play, it's okay. I can go back midway, so I can actually contest my mid laner on the next wave crash. Really, really great stuff from Ucal, because he's exerting pressure, he's out of vision. Ryze is like, oh shit, missing, so these guys have to back up, so these guys can, free farm and not get poked under tower. And then he can still decide halfway if a play is going to happen. Okay, so Zinzal's bot side. Let's see if he actually complements his bot side again here because his jungle is there. Yeah, instantly path bot. Weak side, strong side, complementing his jungler on bot side. Beautiful. Excellent. Bit of a 3v3, exactly what Sylas is looking for. A skirmish on bot side. Here comes Sylas. Here comes the Ryze TP. Skirmish. Nocturne comes as well. Oh, I love this. All right. Let's play this out. And then we'll talk about this a little bit more in depth. So, flashes forward. Finishes off the flashless Ryze. Beautiful. It looks like a cleanup. Waits for the Riven to tank. Excellent. Okay, let's go back here and break this down. A few little important points to mention. One, doesn't worry about making any sort of play topside. He knows his jungler bot side. They're the secondary win condition, and he wants to complement his jungler's decision. One shots the wave, no hesitation, insta walks bot side. Great. Now, Trundle ends up showing up here for a 3v3. So 3v3, brilliant. Ryze is also looking at this fight, and I believe Ryze starts TP in a second, and Nocturne TP's in, and Riven, sorry. So it's a 5v5 in the bot lane. Classic Korean solo queue. Now, there's many ways Sylas can play this fight, right? He could theoretically follow up on the Riven there and kind of dive a little bit forward and, kill the... he can flash in theoretically and go with the Riven and kill this flashless Ryze who just flashed out. He can kill this Trundle over here. He can do many things. One of the concepts I talk about in the Midland Academy and in terms of skirmish optimization is that it's all... And I think I spoke about this in my How to Improve Skirmishing video, is that it's always better to peel a member that is diving your backline, and I'm not going to say always, I'll say majority of the time, just through sheer logic, okay? Now, let's just say Sylas goes to kill this Trundle or Ryze over here. But as a result, Nocturne kills the Karma. It's a 1-for-1. Or you still win the fight and it's a 2-for-1. Now, in many situations, that is okay. But if you peel the Nocturne and kill the Nocturne, and your team happens to disengage, and this guy's probably going to die anyway, you're actually getting one kill and actually protecting your team as well. So a lot of the time, if you're peeling instead of diving, you're going to get one kill and none of your teammates are going to die. So it's a 1-for-0. And a 1-for-0 is always better than a 2-for-1 because you're giving them gold. So that's just like a little thing. And I love that he peels back onto the Nocturne first to defend his Rakan, to prevent Rakan from dying, then move forward. Then it's much easier. Protect your teammates first. Boom, goes in. And that way as well, his team is in position to back him up. Beautiful. Really, really good stuff here. So notice how there's nothing really sexy so far, is there? No fancy solo kills. I mean, skirmishing relatively straightforward. Just right place, right time. Identifying win conditions, playing around his jungler's location, laning after waves, making sacrifices, staying healthy in the laning phase, going down a little bit of farm, and making up for it in these skirmishes. Because he knows in skirmishes, that's where Sylas outperforms the Ryze. Sylas is always going to lose the isolated 1v1 versus the Ryze, but you outperform in 2v2s, you outperform in 3v3s and 4v4s. And that's exactly what he did there. So I like that he took the Trundle ult and peeled back. Beautiful stuff. Now, goes back. Now he has the Everfrost, 10 stacks of Darkseal. Looks like he should be able to take over this game relatively easy now. Let's see how he pushes the pace of this game. So, sweeps around a little bit. E, Everfrost, Q. This is the E2. Now, he doesn't have flash, so he has to be a little bit more careful, but Xin Zhao's doing a really good job of hovering. Gets the wave. Exceptional. Straight away, shove, move bot. Complimenting his team. Really, really great stuff. The more people in a given area, the higher chance of a skirmish breaking out. So he's doing a really good job of just hovering out of vision, making his mind up as he goes halfway. A lot of spam pings going on here. Great, great, great. Shove, move again. Constantly shoving and complimenting his Xin Zhao. Now Trundle's like, screw top. I can't go top anymore. I need to help my bot lane. But now it's too late. Now Sylas is wreaking havoc in the jungle. Ezreal's getting out of control. And the enemy team just don't have enough damage to actually kill Sylas at this point in time. So we're probably going to end this one here. This looks relatively straightforward. We can maybe skip a little bit more. We'll fast forward a little bit more to see how this game ends up. I'm assuming lane swaps with the Ezreal. Groups on the objective. Starts the side lane here. Now he has TP, so he can actually stay in the side lane for an extended period of time. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. TPs to a skirmish. Okay. Relatively straightforward. Great stuff. So, what we're going to do now is go on to the second VOD and see how his game plan, the way he plays out the wave, differs to this Qmax strategy into Ryze here, okay? So let's dive into the second VOD. Alright, so let's dive into the second VOD here. This is the game where he versus the Akali with TP and Ignite. Again, opting in for Dorans and 2-pots, which seems to be a more lane-dominant setup, especially pre-first base setup. Goes for a level 1 ward. Now, I'm assuming this level 1 ward is purely to get more of an idea of Lee Sin's exact path so that he can actually trade aggressively level 2 and level 3 and use his E aggressively. Maybe he doesn't want to give Akali any room to breathe and ward later on. I'm personally not like the biggest fan because I feel as though it makes things a little bit awkward because when you are really trying to pressure at around 2 minutes 30, you're getting level 3, that sort of thing. You're not going to have a ward for very much longer. So we'll see how this plays out. Okay, let's go back here to make sure we don't miss any of these details. Okay, so he comes in. Akali's opted in for D-Shield Conqueror. Pretty good Conqueror game for Akali. Look at these beautiful clicks from Ucal. Like, look at his movement, baiting out the Qs from Akali. Really, really well done. I wish I could have the point of view, but Ucal doesn't stream that often. I checked his stream. E level 1, and he's contesting level 1 here to try and get the level 2. Looks like Lee Sin started blue, top side. Now, Sylas, as I mentioned in the Sylas guide, definitely wins pre-first base or pre-orb. Level 6 gets a little bit sketchy, but you can definitely navigate it. Goes for level 2, gets the shove here. Wonder if he's going to crash this wave before the third wave comes. He probably should. Ideally, that's what you want to do to get the wave back onto your side. So it looks like he's going for the shove to bounce it back out and let it bounce back onto his side. I'm assuming he thinks that Lee Sin's doing a top to bot clear as well. And he has that ward here, so he's posturing very aggressively still. So he's continuing to shove here. Maybe he's trying to maintain prio for the scuttle as well. Then let it bounce out. Look at that. Uses E very aggressively deep in the lane. But then Lee Sin actually goes for a 3-camp top side into mid gank, which blows the flash of Ucal, which is very interesting. And this is exactly, it seems to me, what exactly Ucal was looking in this lane. Hence why he went for this level 1 ward. He wanted to be able to use his E like this. He E'd to the side to avoid the Q. Then insta E2, auto W. But this time Lee Sin was here. Interesting gank from the Lee Sin. Very, very creative. Alright. I think he's still going to be completely fine in this lane though. Procs the bone plating with the Q here. Ideally, you proc the bone plating first with the Q before you go in with an EW. Lee Sin's bot side, thinning the wave. Now, the wave is in a beautiful position right now. It's slow building back to Sylas, and this is exactly where Sylas wants it, right outside his tower. And if you thin the wave with Qs and auto attacks, and don't allow Akali to build too much of a big wave here, it's very difficult for Akali to unbreak the freeze. So, Ucal's doing a brilliant job right now of thinning it, so it doesn't get too big. And not posturing too defensively such that Akali has free access to the wave. He's not allowing Akali to free auto attack the wave. Really great high value Qs from Ucal here. Thinning it, thinning it, thinning it. Akali hovers topside. And the wave's in an exceptional position. He still has a pot here. Looking for high value Qs through the wave in order to prevent Akali from going... from crashing and building too big of a wave. I love this E here. Let me take a look at this. So he's thinning it, holding it in a beautiful position. Akali looks to have maybe got a ward out / hover topside. High value Q. Stands outside the wave, so Akali has to make a choice between him and the wave. Then he insta-E's here instead of pathing backwards because he knows he can't die anyway. He can E as aggressively as he wants because the wave is so close to his tower. Sees Lee Sin top, knows he's in an isolated 1v1, straight away walks up with a W. Beautiful stuff here. I know he's got that 2 points in W. He can't really lose trades. Bit of a top shenanigan goes on. Now this was interesting. So he insta resets here. He doesn't waste time by trying to shove this one. He's feeling like he has the item that he wants. So he goes for an Amp Tomb. What does he go for? He goes for an Amp Tomb and Sapphire Crystal. Doesn't even sell it for a refillable or anything. He actually can't anyway. Akali comes back with a Dark Seal. And I'm assuming he did this because he wanted to match the TP and make sure that Akali has no room to breathe. And maybe he also assumed that if Akali TP'd back right now, he wouldn't have enough resources to be able to prevent Akali from freezing on her side. Whereas if he just insta-reset with the Akali, he can TP back, match it, and guarantee that he's able to bounce the wave back out. Because he doesn't like the wave here. He doesn't want it here. He wants it back on his side. I'm assuming anyway. This is just my experience with the matchup. And it makes sense, given that's what I can see from his strategy. Posturing relatively aggressively here. Looks like he's trying to shove this wave in. He doesn't have any vision at the moment. He's aggressively. He's trying to use his offense as his defense. Continue to play within this slow built wave and get the wave in. Beautiful. And because he's got a nice little slow built wave. Yep, goes for a nice little tempo reset. Exceptional. Great stuff. Sneaks out a ward here, maybe to spot out potential Akali roams. But because Akali has terrible wave clear in the early game, even though it's not even on a cannon, it's completely fine. By the time Akali cleans up this slow build wave and then gets through the next one, he's going to be easily back in time. Beautiful. Okay, so notice how different this lane has played out. He's actually got the shove, bounced the wave, held it back on his side. Whereas in the first one, he's put multiple points in Q, CS under tower, and was significantly behind his CS. Now he's farming 40. He's fought 40 CS by 5 minutes 15. Not too bad at all. So it comes back, picks up a tier 1 boots. Nice, nice, nice. He has I would say relatively even, maybe a slight CS XP advantage. Nice high value Q to thin the wave and proc the bone plating from the Akali. Akali uses W to get the wave in. I don't think Ucal can hold this one. No, the wave's too big. Okay. Pretty slow early game. With 6 minutes in, there's only 3 kills. CS is this under tower very nicely with the passive. 51 CS by 6 minutes. It'll be interesting to see who he identifies as a secondary win condition. Nasus is doing okay. Kind of down actually 20 CS, but got a kill. Hecarim's not doing too hot. He's doing completely fine in the 1v1. Bot looks relatively even. I'm assuming he's just waiting for some form of 2v2 or 3v3. Grabs... Look at that. Okay, I need to highlight this. So, obviously he's waiting for some form of skirmish, right? Sees that there's a lot of pings going on here. Sees the Lee Sin invades on the Gromp and the Leon is hovering. No hesitation. Insta Akali ult and then move. I love that. Beautiful. Moves down. E. R1. Beautiful. Hold R2. Chase. Amazing. Double kill. Relatively simple. Again, playing around his jungler's location. Not doing anything fancy. Right place, right time. Understanding the ultimate to take. Goes in and executes. Okay, beautiful. Comes back. Shoves these 2 waves out. I'm assuming goes for a quick reset. Beautiful. Comes back with a lost chapter and a blasting wand. Now, Akali is actually opted in for alternator. I think this is quite a big mistake from Akali. It says to me that you're not really going to be able... She's not really looking to contest the 1v1, which... I mean, what's the point? I mean, I'm not a big fan of that. If I see this, and even with the Ignite, it's just so free. It's just way too free. She all in on the... She looks like she valued the alternator and the raw AP rather than the orb and the healing reduction. Okay, so... I wonder if you hold the wave here. Ends up holding the wave. So he doesn't have ultimate. Tries to go for a bit of a high value Q onto the Akali to proc the bone plating. Doesn't end up getting it. Akali's playing desperate for the wave because Akali doesn't want to freeze again. Beautiful aggressive posturing. Making Akali's life very miserable. So now he's got 4 points in W at this point in time. Sees a little bit of a skirmish topside. Insta move topside. Remember, he can't take the Akali ult this time around because it's still on cooldown. But the play's over by the time he gets there. Okay. Comes back. Nothing too fancy. Lee Sin ends up picking off the Hecarim. So his sidelines aren't doing that good, but he's definitely in a hard carry position right now. He's got decent ultimates. He's got... I mean, I think Lee Sin ult's okay. Leona ult's very good. Akali ult's very good. Plenty of decent ultimates this game. Bot lane gets a nice little pick there. $82 CS by 9 minutes. So as you can see, he plays a relatively conservative Sylas. So it looks like Nasus is trying to 1v1 the jungler. Walks in the river. Hovers off to this. Interesting. Very interesting. Let me take a look at this. So, very similar to before. He sees a play potentially happening, or literally happening, and then he walks over. Takes a very conservative path here because he can't actually take the Akali ult, and he probably doesn't want to give Akali the opportunity to use Ignite in this scenario. So, plays for the skirmish, and then just makes his mind up along the way. Realizes that Akali's missing the wave, has to come back at some point, so charges his E, goes for a nice little E2, and then... gets a bit of a chunk here. So nothing too fancy. Makes a lot of sense. Good. Farming up a storm. Nasus is going down pretty hardcore in terms of CS here. Interesting. I want to see which way this game turns. How is he going to utilize this lead that he has? Surely he can take the Akali ult relatively soon here. Akali doesn't have R now, which is good as well. Rift up topside. Hecarim starting Rift. Tries to complement his jungler by getting shove. Okay, so they chunk out the Akali. How much gold is he sitting on? He can get his mythic here. Alright, so Nautilus goes for a very ambitious Q and ends up dying. He has the Akali ult here. As you can see, definitely prioritizes that Akali ult. Understandably. Okay. So. He doesn't have much... He's sitting on a lot of gold. So you can get his Everfrost here. Varus is pumping. They're starting the Rift. TP's back in. Sees a potential skirmish opportunity. Here we go. Hecarim has ult. Sylas has ult. How's he going to navigate this? He's still got the Akali ult. Nocturne dives onto the Ucal. Wait, when did he use the Akali R here? Let's take a look at this. So walks in. Because Hecarim's on top side, he has very limited self-peel. So he eases away, flashes so he doesn't get feared, and then jumped on, followed up by the Lee Sin and the Akali. Conserves his HP. Doesn't have E here. Follows up with his team. Insta-R like you would with Akali. You really want to get your R2 off cooldown. Boom. Everfrost. Peel next target. Follow up with E. R2. E2. Boom. Again, as you can see, nothing really special here. His resets are in accordance to what is happening in the map. Not really compensating. Going to plays when he really needs to. Valuing his HP when he comes to fights. Playing relatively conservatively. Waiting for those 2v2s, those 3v3s. Now, what I love about this is it's not sexy. It's not like you're watching Rookie. When you watch Rookie, it's sexy, right? You know, there's going to be some crazy plays. When you watch Doinby, there's going to be some crazy, sexy plays. When you watch Ucal, or when you watch Showmaker, or even when you watch Chovy. I mean, Chovy's actually a little bit of an exception because he's quite brilliant. But Ucal and Showmaker specifically, they play this very, like, near perfect style of League of Legends. Beautiful bases in accordance to win conditions. Beautiful assessment of jungle location. Never really compensating. Only taking high percentage plays. CSing beautifully. So 100, nearly 10 CS per minute this game. Exceptional. So now at this point, he's by far the main win condition. Varus is popping off on bot side. So it wouldn't surprise me if we just see him play towards bot side, stack these dragons up, and complement his Varus. So now he's got his stopwatch. Excellent. And now look, he starts to shove, move constantly. There's never a time where he's shoving and trying to do something mid lane when his jungler's doing an objective or looking for a gank, is there? No. He's there every single time, opportunistically, hovering out of vision, sweeping. And this is something I should do more as Sylas. He actually swaps the sweeper a lot. When he realizes the game is actually not really being played in the 1v1, it's more played in side lanes or skirmishes and, things like that. He values early sweeper. Something that I need to try experiment with my own Sylas, actually. Interesting. Okay, so bot lane is getting a lot of pressure right now. Nasus gets picked on top side, it looks like. Or not. Not compensating, not going towards his weak side, nothing to do top side. Beautiful, just stay for plates. Excellent. Excellent. Look at that. Doesn't feel the need to go bot. They've already got the play done. They've already zoned them off. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. And it gets flashed on. Well, Ucal, way to make me look like an idiot. So big shutdown given over to the Lee Sin. I still think they have full control over this game. I mean, he's definitely going to win the side lane. This guy, Akali didn't opt in for an orb. Lane assignments are going to get swapped up right now. Varus is going to go mid here, I'm assuming. With Dragon maybe being the next objective. We'll see how this goes. Fast forwarding a little bit. Has TP in 50 seconds. Nothing really for him to do. The play is over. Starts shoving the side. His team's hovering in bot side. Got plenty of vision. Excellent. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Nothing really for him to do here while his team's coming out of base. He ended up opting in for Mercs this game. Not ability haste boots. I'm assuming for the Leona. Interesting. Doesn't compensate. Hecarim's not in the area. Doesn't want to go for a low percentage play. And it's very non-committal, so chooses not to TP. Beautiful. Ends up working towards Zonya's. He's got his Seekers here. What's going to happen here? Goes back into the side lane. He knows that he has TP. Nocturne has no ultimate as well. Akali's not going into the side lane very often here. Now, finally, she gets the orb. Hopefully, we get to see a 1v1 here. I hope there's a 1v1. Okay, we know Lee Sin's somewhere bot side here, so he backs up. Doesn't want to risk trying to 1v2 or do anything crazy here. His team's making a play on the other side of the map, so he chills conservatively. I love it. Very beautiful League of Legends. Lee Sin shows back on the ward, so he's able to posture up here. Looks like he's looking for a bush camp to see if Akali overextends for the wave, but doesn't end up doing it. Drag is the next objective in 50 seconds here. Be interested to see how he positions around this fight. So he's probably going to sweep. No, he doesn't have it. So hovers around a little bit here. Doesn't take the Leona ult. Waits for the Akali. Peel, look at that. Peel, peel, peel. Beautiful stuff. Let's look at this skirmish again. Because in my experience, for me, I would have just taken the Leona ult and just gone. Okay, so he knows Akali's somewhere in the area. And he's assuming that the enemy team is going to contest this dragon. They don't want to roll over and die. So he knows Akali's bot here. Sees the red is up, so he sits in the bush. Sees Kalista, Lee Sin here, and then Leo by herself. Assuming that Leona can't get one shot because of the aftershock, he doesn't really bother too much with Leona. Uses Everfrost, Q, W, doesn't even E, saves E, sees Akali come onto the backline onto the Varus, instantly takes the Akali ult, peels back, E, and then into E2. I don't know if he tried to R over the wall or not, but tries to go back, accepts reality that his Varus is probably dead, and then kills the Lee Sin. So, very interesting. You can see how in these fights he knows exactly what ultimate he's looking for, and he knows what target he is after. So, very nice. I like that he didn't use the E and take the bait to go into the Leona, knowing that Kalista is probably going to suck him back up anyway, and just peel straight back onto that Akali. Really, really great stuff. So, we'll probably look at one more fight here. Sylas ends up... Oh, what happens here? So, Sylas TP's top. Goes for a little bit of a skirmish here. Here we go. No. Okay, nice flash. And that looks like it. I mean, this game looks pretty bloody over. Fast forwarding to one last skirmish. Grabs the blue buff. Doesn't have TP anymore, so we're probably going to see him group a lot more. Yep. Great. Sweeping, sweeping, sweeping. Group, group, group. Love it. Rift is the next objective into Baron. Knowing that he can't really afford to be bot lane here. This time takes the Leona ult because he can't take the Akali ult. Whiffs it completely. Collapses onto the Nocturne. Doesn't really get anything. Bit of a questionable roam bot side. I feel as though it's okay to just give the tower and just start the Baron with the team. I'm not a big fan of that play from Ucal. He is coming in from the flank here though. Alright, they end up turning onto him, but they get the Baron. Okay. Yeah, look, I'm actually not a fan of that. I feel as though what he should have done here is give bot, leave it. Leave this. Just go straight to Baron. You've already chunked out, I think you chunked out the Akali over here anyway. Who was it? I think they chunked out the Akali in this situation. Who was it? So they killed the Kalista. She's dead. Nocturne's bot with no TP. Just start the Baron on spawn. Make them come into you and you just turn and you win. I really feel like it's quite unnecessary for Ucal to do this. So, that's probably my biggest nitpick this game. Alright, so we've been able to see now two VODs from Ucal, played relatively differently with the same principles at play. Now let's go back to the slides and break down what the key mistakes were and key learnings are from these games. So let's go ahead and break down the key takeaways. The first one's being the key learning, things that we should aim to replicate. The first one, I believe Ucal was hyper aware of his jungler's location and very aware of what play was going on when. There was never a time in these two games where there was a dragon play or a side lane skirmish that was favorable or a dive, a play where it would have been great for him to be there, but he wasn't there. That just didn't exist. He knew exactly how to recall, when a play was going to happen, constantly hovering, being at the right place at the right time. This only happens when you're hyper aware of your jungler's location. Very, very good. Zero compensation of poor fights. There were situations where his Nasus was getting caught out. There was some awkward fights. No, zero compensation. He said no. He had a clear idea of the secondary win conditions and he played towards these secondary win conditions relentlessly. Very, very great stuff. The third one here was willing to forego CS in the early lane against lane bullies. He knew that he didn't win the 1v1 versus the Ryze. And that's okay. He went down, 10 CS in the first, or 15, 20 CS in the first few waves, or first few minutes of the game? Yes. But then that allowed him to take favorable trades because he was healthy enough, and it allowed him to not really miss any XP. So this is, a sacrifice that he was willing to make. Very, very good stuff. And the last one here, he was super decisive on the key ultimates to hijack. Especially that second game when he was versus the Akali, whenever there was fight, boom, take the Akali ult. Boom, take the Akali ult. Straight away, no hesitation. Not thinking, maybe I should take the Leona ult or Nocturne ult. No. He knew exactly the ultimate that he wanted to take, and he'd obviously had thought about that throughout the game, within lull states or maybe in the loading screen or whatever. So really, really great stuff. In terms of biggest mistakes, look, I was pushed. I really tried to think about key mistakes in these two games. Look, he nearly played borderline flawless games. It was towards the end of that second VOD. I disagree with him going bot lane with no TP when I think he could have just forced the Baron. Therefore, he was late to the fight and things got a little bit sloppy. He got picked off. There was a time where I think he TP'd top lane to try and defend his Riven on the weak side. Look, there were very minor mistakes. He was already in a game-winning position, and I can't even tell if those were somewhat autopilot. I'm unsure. There were definitely mistakes. But in terms of the way he interpreted the win conditions, in terms of the way he played the map and played the lane, brilliant stuff. So look, guys, hopefully this really solidifies a lot of the concepts that I was talking about throughout my Sylas guide. And this is it. This is what an amazing Sylas player looks like. So if you want to see more stuff from this guy, check out his profile, download his replays. There's a lot of amazing stuff from him. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more of these types of videos, these pro player insights, let me know in the comment section below. Cheers.